Okay, we're closing down this unit, so we gotta get ready for this. So let's see. Let me zoom in. I'm gonna work 37 through 43. So graph each equation. Okay, we're gonna graph this. So this is given to me in the vertex form. I'm gonna use this information for my x value. My x value of my vertex is a -5. Notice I switched the sign. And I'm going to use this number at the very far end for my y value. Don't switch the sign. Your y value is -5. So I know there's my vertex. Okay. Now, another thing that I know using this value at the very front, I know my aperture is up. I know this graph is open up because my 2 is a positive value. So I know this thing is up and up. When I give you guys the graph, the information in vertex form, I really just need you guys to pay attention what I'm okay with. You guys can read what's the vertex and what's the aperture. I found a vertex point, and I know this is open up. So I'm gonna say it goes there, and then looks like that. Like I said, when I give it to you in vertex form, I want you guys to I'm okay because just understand what's the vertex and the aperture. You want to be a little bit more accurate. Think of some x values, just choose random values of x, plug them in there and find the corresponding y. So find more points and you guys should be okay. Now looking at number 38. This is given to you in intercept form. So I need to see where do I cross the x-axis. My first parentheses, x plus 7. That means I cross the x-axis at -7. Notice I switched the sign. The second parentheses, x plus 4. So that means I cross the x-axis at -4. Another thing that I can easily see here is this thing is open up. Okay, but this case, let me find where the vertex is, because where's my vertex? Is it my vertex here? Is it here? Is it here? Where is it? I'm not quite sure. So let me find it out. The way I'm gonna find the x value of my vertex, since I crossed the x-axis at -7 and -4, let me add those two numbers up. -7 plus a -4, and the result, let me divide it by 2. Right. -7 plus -4 is a -11. -11 divided by 2 gives me -5.5. I'm going to use decimals. Okay, so I found that. Now I'm going to use my equation for, when I say equation, I'm talking about this, to find my y value. So I'm going to write y equals 3. My first parentheses, x plus 7. I know x is -5.5. So x plus 7 should give me 1.5. And in the second parentheses, x plus 4, I know x value. So x plus 4 should give me -1.5. Multiply that out, and I get that my y value is -6.75. So my vertex is -5.5 and -6.75. Not nice vertex, but doable. It's about there. You guys see my vertex is right there. Okay, so I have my, where do I cross the x-axis? I have my vertex. And I know it's open up because my aperture is positive. Let me flip the page. Let me take a look at number 39. I'm graphing this function. It's given to me in standard form. So I need to find my vertex first. For the x value of my vertex, I'm going to use negative b over 2a. In this case, a is equal to 1, right? It's the very first number. And then b is equal to 4. So let me write this as a negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Okay, I find my x value. Now let me use that equation, right? I'm going to use this equation to find my y value. I have y is equal to negative 2 squared plus 4 times a negative 2 minus 2. I'm using negative 2 for x. So that means that y is equal to 4, right? I'm doing my exponents. 4 minus 8 minus 2. So my y value is negative 6. So that gives me my vertex at negative 2, negative 6. Okay, I know my vertex. Now I need to create a chart. Create a chart of x and y values. So I'm going to put my vertex in the center. Negative 2, negative 6. Let me choose two values that are less than negative 2 for my x value. So let me choose negative 3, negative 4. Let me choose two consecutive values that are higher than negative 2. Let me choose negative 1 and 0. Okay, so I'm going to find two more points. Using the equation, and when I say the equation, I'm looking at this. Y equals x squared plus 4x minus 2. I can either use negative 3 4x or negative 1. Right, I'm going to get the same answer. So to be honest, it doesn't matter. In my case, I'm going to use negative 1. So I'm looking at y equals negative 1 squared plus 4 times a negative 1 minus 2. And I get negative 5. That's my answer. So I'm going to get y values negative 5 right here. That gives me these two new points. Cool, I have an idea now. It's opening up. So let me use for the next 2 points, I'm going to use either negative 4 for x or 0. To be honest, I'm going to use 0. So that gives me y equals 0 squared plus 4 times 0 minus 2. And that gives me negative 2. So that gives me the y value for those 2 points is negative 2. So that gives me these two new points. Okay, I think I have enough. I think I have enough. That's how my graph looks like. Now that we know how to graph, so we should go backwards. We should be able to get the formula now. There's the formula there. Use the information provided to write the vertex form of each parabola. Okay, so I'm looking for the vertex form. My vertex, it's right here. My vertex is the point 4, 1, right? That's my vertex. So I know most of my answer. Let me write this as y equals a, because I don't know the aperture. I just know it's a positive number because it's open up. X minus 4 squared plus 1. I wish I could find out my a, so let me use a random point. I'm going to choose that point. I'm going to use the point 3, 2. So I have to be able to solve for my a. So I have 2 is equal to a. My parentheses, I get -1, right? X minus 4, since x equals 3. So -1 squared plus 1. Work your exponent. So I have that 2 is equal to a times 1. Right? -1 squared is positive 1. Now this plus 1, let me move it over. So I have that 1, it's equal to a times 1. So I think we can agree that my aperture is 1. Now, my aperture is going to go there. It's a 1, so I don't really have to write it. So my answer would be, if I'm just writing this, my answer is y equals x minus 4 squared plus 1. Now, how are you going to type it? Y equals x minus 4 twice, and then plus 1. Now, let me take a look at number 41. There's the graph. Use the information provided to write the intercept form. I see I crossed the x-axis at +4 and 7. So I know most of my answer. Y equals, I don't know a for the aperture, but then I'm going to write x minus 4, x minus 7. Don't forget to switch the signs. Choose a random point. I'm going to do this point right here. The point is 6, -6. So then I have -6 is equal to a. My first parentheses, x equals 6, right? So x minus 4 is 2. And then -1. Multiply the parentheses at the end. So I have -6. It's equal to a times a -2. Once I divide both sides by -2, I find out that a is equal to 3. So my answer will be y equals 3, x minus 4, x minus 7. Then let me review question number 47. This thing they're asking for the standard form. Use the information provided to write the standard form. So I could start it using the intercept form, or I could start it using the vertex form. Doesn't quite matter. So let me use the intercept form. I cross the x-axis at -5 and -1. So I have y equals a, x plus 5, x plus 1. Let me choose a random point. I'm going to choose this point. My point is -3, 4. So I have 4 is equal to a times 2 times a negative 2. So I have that 4 is equal to a times a negative 4. Right? I multiply the last two parentheses, divide by negative 4. So I get that a is equal to negative 1. So if this was just intercept form, I will write this as y equals negative sign for negative 1, x plus 5, x plus 1. This is if I'm writing the intercept form. I'm writing the standard form. So what I'm going to do, get rid of parentheses, distribute the x, and then distribute the 5. So I get that y equals x squared plus 1x plus 5x plus 5. My next step, I'm going to use my aperture. It's a negative 1. I'm going to multiply each number. So there's a 1 there for me to see it. I'm multiplying each number by the aperture, in this case by negative 1. So I have y equals negative x squared minus x minus 5x minus 5. I multiplied each of those by the aperture, in this case negative 1. If I'm writing this, just combine like terms. So we're going to get y equals negative x squared minus 6x minus 5. That's if you write it. Now, how are you going to type it? Y equals negative xx minus 6x minus 5. Last review, last question. Solve by factoring. The right side should be 0, so the positive 4, let me move it to the other side as a minus 4. Don't forget to switch the sign. So then I have that x squared plus 2x minus 24 is equal to 0. I'm looking for two numbers that when I multiply them is equal to negative 24, but when I add them is equal to 2. So I'm going to think of positive 6, negative 4. My factors, my parentheses, let me break this as x plus 6, x minus 4. And all this is equal to 0. Okay. So looking at the first parentheses, x plus 6. What's the value of x that will make the first parentheses equal to 0? Then I'm going to say, well, negative 6. And the second parentheses, what's the value of x that will make that equal to 0? 4. So my answers are negative 6 and 4. There you go.